Obviously, through COVID, we didn't have a break. Until our Yahrtzeit started, we had every year. It's the first time in this basement, which I think, because of COVID. But we had the old basement, which we had every year. It's recovered for SHisgal. This year is the 50th year of the start of the Yahrtzeit, moved to 1973. So why we do this? Nobody remembers very much. I think from the speakers, we all remember, but the question is, what am I blaming? We remember. Friends are not here anymore. They for sure. But he was such a nice man that technically he was an American that grew up to be, you talk about he made a bracha, he saw the Yoshemite. He's a guy who saw the bracha, didn't make a bracha because he saw what the bracha means. It's not just words. He's thanking somebody. And he's thanking the Rebbe. The honesty of Mr. Soch and the chesed that he used to do. And you think that what's an old man who does chesed, with the people of the base of who nobody else would bother with, and stuff like that. Which also happened to be a levy par excellence. He was a levy by us. And the place I knew Moshe, not really shopping in the city. It's not going. So how do you go and listen to the questions and how to again do it that way? Or you can do it over, you walk over to him and you say, I need some help. I don't understand the sugi myself, I have a kasha, and this is the kasha I have, and the kid finally hears the kasha, and they discuss possible answers to the kasha, and then finally he comes up and says, I think this may answer it, and the guy says, yeah, that's very good. And at the end, you see, I helped out with SHisgal in the various sugi. And all of a sudden, we felt good about ourselves. He wasn't a melachol. He actually felt good. I didn't. Maybe he learned better the next time because I'm not a failure. I can do it. It takes a little more effort, maybe I'm not going to put in. I'm there. So I don't need many ways of that. And that's the main part that it shouldn't be a yisha das. Because they have a hard time with one part, point. That part of Yisha Das that's a terrible thing. Anyway, I'm going to talk about the stool learning. And this week's evidence that really are shkofatic points, and you need type of chinuch to really understand it. One is, it says that Moshe was talking to the Dayanim, and he's telling to them what they have to do. And one of the things is, he's telling them that you gotta יסתכלו פנים המשפט, ככל תשמעון, ויסוגרו מפני איש, כי המשפט לא כיוון. Because justice is God's. And then Rashi says, what does that mean? That justice is God's? Meaning, whatever you paskin shaloi kedin, I will fix up. So Hippo Hawaii as I did. So you see a very strange thing. We cannot cheat anybody in this world, me and this one. If I can't cheat anybody, why do I really care so much about honesty? The guy's not going to lose anything anyway. He's going to get his money back. So why do I have to be such a Suburan Playish? This guy, my boss, is my fighter. If I say latest against him and stuff like that, why am I allowed to do that? And all of this thing is going to be Playish. And we should, whatever it is there, whatever the things are, why should I bother? Basically, going to give it back anyway. Who cares? So what difference? I thought we came. Your job is to teach honesty. That's a way job. You're not making the bid. The bid is going to be the way I want it. There's no one's going to be cheated anybody in the world. But as long as I'm around. But they should always around. So maybe no one's going to cheat anybody. Already you got to understand that you have no right to be part of it. That's basic that. But that can be punished terribly. So the thing is that it's a whole to have, what do I need this head for? What do I need this? And just get off my head and let me be at peace with everybody and this thing there to start up with everybody. And you gotta have the guts to do it. That's one point. And then the point where it says over there, the moments I'd say that the people who give korbanos have an attitude that they're giving God something. You're not giving God anything. God doesn't eat behaviors, God doesn't eat, God doesn't, there's nothing there to anything. It's a declaration that everything I have is my shine. That declaration of that for? Since you're wasting it, you're wasting the behavior which is worth thousands of dollars, and you're not accomplishing anything with it. So what I'm saying, the patient won't be to have it, he'll give you another one. And this is the mindset that he does, because when people can make a declaration, of course everything I have in insurance, very nice, like $1 billion in the bank. We're going to say, well, really, December, because I believe in innovation, we believe in the bank. And you say, what does I really believe in? And he wanted to say that the bank should go broke and all of a sudden there's no money in there anymore. And you got for $250 or something that they're going to give you back from the government, or whatever it is, that's what you want. So why do you see there what you really believe you don't believe? Well, we're not interested in that. You have to go over any amount today, I passed that already. I was in there, but I can't prove to myself if I'm right or wrong. You didn't tell me the truth. But by behaving, when you shafted it, at that moment, the guy feels some kind of a charot in his heart. Oh, that shit. Whatever it is, then no, it's not actually but he fled, he failed. He failed. He has to be another code. We accept the nation made it that it's going to be a because the nation put in the fire first. So then they made the Be'ach Mechoyach even though he failed. So that's what he wants. He wants to keep practicing until you're back able to do it. That's what he wants. But even again, you have to lose if you was. Or is it that we lose a basement faith? Or a basement faith? And that's the counsel there. So you have a lot of times you're going to have chilukim that they're very, very hard to grasp, even though you hear it. The hell just, I gotta live it. I gotta feel it. It's not enough just to know that it's true. Because knowing it's true, but I put it back in me and I don't believe it, that doesn't help me too much. I have to believe it. And the truth is, if a person has that ashkafah, no matter what the matzah in life he's going to face, he's not going to have any service. That's the Lord's Hashem. That's the Lord's Hashem. Probably, there's nothing more than But focusing on something happened, an accident, I lost all my money, a terrible thing, God's not around anymore, and stuff like that, then all of a sudden I have something to worry about. But if God did it, whatever reason He did it, He's still there. And He's still able to hold my hand. I still believe in Him. It's not going to be like it was before, but I'll still be around. That's the problem. That's to get through such stuff and you need already. And that's what He was. He was that kind of ready. And we've got, like we spoke, this KPO this week was about being ready to be exactly what we started. Well, obviously that's very important. This is basically what it's all about. Just want to say that Yahrtzeit, next year we shouldn't be SHisgal anymore. We should have trees and and the world is going crazy. Nobody's getting the nation. Maybe we're showing and higher. Yahrtzeit will be the same.
She was going to mention it's not too many Talmidim that's left. Every year she was told back Zikaron by going to SHisgal. The yeshiva was molded, influenced by all different rabbeim. Everybody had input. The Divrei SHisgal had his chasima in the yeshiva that carried on, that we're still today being member from. A certain ruach, a certain order, that from his ruach that permeated in the yeshiva, the kufa that he was a marketeer in the yeshiva. The hashpah is still living with us. And every year we come together to revive and to pick up and to be mechadish those rishonim, those oiris that the yeshiva is influenced by, to be mechazik in us. SHisgal came to America when he was 4 years old. He was born in Slutsk. Mrs. Zalman was a Sandik. He lived, his father was a Talmud in Slobodka, and his father was a Rav in Rhode Island. Till 11, he was in a public school. And he went to the parents sent him to Yeshiva Tervadas in Williamsburg. With this short kufa, he became from the start Talmidim of Reb Shlomo Hyman. He rose to the top right after his chasana, they already gave him, he became a marketeer in Tervadas. But when you read about SHisgal, what we heard the years of Espedim, the gewaltige Bibel Shachachman. The Bibel Shachachman, to Lakshalat HaKesef, Matmoim, to Chabselu, was told in years Hashem, the Dasa, the Kintinza, the gewaltige Tzmeir for Torah, the thirst for Torah, which was always said over. Wherever he went, he always had a Gemara with him. He was always learning in the dim light, on the train, on the platform of the train. The Moedik Tzmeir the Torah, the Cheshit, to be great the Torah, the person learns with such a gewaltig Cheshit, and Tzmeir is like Kodesh Baruch Hu, Ki Hashem Yitei Chachma, Mipiv Das Esuna. The Shloike Derech HaTeva, they reseited to back sois. Is a chilek of it is that the gewaltig it's a moed for Torah. What they write up in that SHisgal. There was a good convention in Lakewood. Rabbi was Imaman. He was Rabbi SHisgal was Imaman. Rabbi invited him for the Suda. The next day, when they gave out the aliyah, and there was no office, Rabbi told the Gabbai to give him an aliyah. There's young of the time for the Gedolim. The Muslim that the Gedolim Yisrael saw him at a young age, the godless of becoming an Adam God of Yisrael. Bring down from the Rapam said over by the Masculine, there's 2 points in Masmiden. There's a Masmid that never leaves go of the Gemara, and there's a Masmid that the Gemara never leaves in. There's a Masmid that the Gemara is here and he's always learning in the Gemara. So the Masmid that the Torah is a chilek of him, he lives Torah. He can't separate. Torah becomes a chilek of himself. He can't separate himself from Torah. It's not that he's forcing himself, pushing himself to learn something outside of him. The ganze Metzias is angesagt mit Torah. Yeshiva Zatzal brings the Medrash Eicha says, Rafunu Rabbi Yirmiyah, Hashem Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yitzchak, Matzinu Shelita HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Avodas Tachavim Nagil Arayis, SHisgal Dalmin, V'Levita Al Ma'asa Shel Torah. Shenem Al Ma'av Da'aretz, it says, it doesn't say Avodas Tachavim Nagil Arayis, SHisgal Dalmin, Ein Kan, Ein Ksiv Kan, Ela Al Osra Mesterosi. The Medrash is Mamshel, Rafuna Rabbi Yirmiyah, B'Shem Rabbi Chia Bar Abba says, V'Oisi Osmu V'Esterosi Lo Shamaru. Halabai Oisi Osmu V'Terosi Shamaru. V'Teir Shoyim Misaskim Ba Ha'ma'or Shabayim Machzirim L'Mutav. V'Teir Shoyim Misaskim Ba Ha'ma'or Shabayim Machzirim L'Mutav. The Eibishter says, Halabai Oisi Osmu B'Teirasi Shamaru, B'Teirasi Misaskim Ba, the Ma'or Shabai will be Machzir and L'Mutav. The Pel de Gazach, the Gemara says that in Bayis Rishon, they were oisid B'Teirah. The Lei Pershu, they didn't know why was the Churban HaBayis. And Pershu HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Al-Ozvos Teirasim L'Elchu B'Ay. So the Gemara says, Shlevirchu B'Teirah Tchila. Famous Ram that says that Torah wasn't chashuva beinayim to be mevarich alem. So there wasn't osvos teirasi. It wasn't aziva. Where was the aziva? Osvos teirasi. It says, "Alavai oisi osvos b'teirasi shamaru shamar shabay machzir l'mutav." They learned Torah. What does it mean? They didn't have Torah. They learned Torah. It was like Bercha b'Torah Tchila. Yeshiva Shlita says the Indian of Ushmartem, Asisem, the Indian Shmira of Torah, is when somebody watches, holds it in, he's afraid of losing it. She gives a muscle, it says, it comes at the end of the study, you cram for regions. And at the end, after you finish the regions, you just want to forget the whole thing. It's too much in your head. You did it, you passed, finished. Shmira means that you constantly watch it. It's precious, it's ishmir b'bit. It's not just in your brain. It's a precious to you. You're holding it, you're living it. Torah is chashuv by a person, like the Ram says, "Chashuv b'neihem l'varech alev." The bracha v'shabachabonu mikol ha'amim, the thanking of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, v'shabachabonu mikol ha'amim, that the Eibishter, the matana that the Eibishter gave with Torah, the Torah is the Torah's chayim, ki chayecha v'orech l'mecha, the person is margish, that it's not just a chetinza to figure out what to do, but Torah itself is chayim ba'atzma. Torah itself is a shtik chayim. That is Terasi Shamor. You could learn Torah, but Torah is not, you're not shoyver the Torah. Torah is not that precious thing that you're fighting for your life. You want to hold on, you're afraid of losing it. You want to get it clear to the bottom. It's important to you. If a person lives with Torah, with that shmira in Torah, that chashivas of Torah, then the Ma'or Shabbat is Machzir l'mutav. Yeshivas Zatzal says, "Shteit or zerua latzadik v'liyishrei leib simcha." Or zerua latzadik is a zriya, is an or that's planted. Torah has to be planted. You have to dig up soil, the hard soil. You have to know how to plant the seed. You have to know how to water it. You know how to cultivate till the tree starts growing. Care for the tree, and it right fertilizes. The or, Torah is an or when it's zarua latzadik, when it's planted in. It's a seed that plants, and it's a live tree. It's something that's growing, that's alive in a person. It's planted in his heart. It's planted in him. That Torah changes it, grows. There's a tzmicha, there's a godless, a person's megadol, Torah makes him grow. There's a growth in Torah. When a person has that in Torah, then the Ma'or Shabbat can be Machzir l'mutav. The person learns Gemara, he learns halacha, it's in his brain. It doesn't change him over, it doesn't plant in him. It's not his chayim, so that taka, there's no or. When is Torah an or? When you makir that you have to plant it. Torah has to be part of the Metzias, and it grows, and you have to open up the heart, and you have to break this hard soil. If a person breaks open and allows Torah to enter, Sachlivi b'Sayar Secha, b'Mitzvah Secha Tirdav Nafshi, the Torah has to penetrate, has to be open the heart. And then there could be the or zerua latzadik, then the or could be zerua latzadik v'yishrei leib simcha. Then Torah is miyashir the leib. The nisyanis, the Yetzaharis that was in Bayis Rishon, the Kayach HaYetzer that was there, if they would have had the Torah that was the or that would have been planted, it would have been miyashir the leib, and there would have been a simcha. Well, Yisrael like a simcha, there would have been a ma'aridik simcha. Rishiva says, a real simcha, there's a simcha of mazel oiser. There's the simcha of emptiness. There's a simcha of emptiness, of after you finish, you feel empty. But there's Yisrael like simcha, that means after the Amelos and the Yediyah, you work on it, you plant it, you hard over the sugya, you live the sugya, ma'ayim tzachim in the sugya. When it's planted in, then there's is the Gavaldik Simcha. The Mishnah says, Schar mitzvah mitzvah. The Yeshiva brings down the Rav that what is Schar mitzvah mitzvah is the Schar she'odom sameach b'asiyas ha-mitzvah nechsheves the-mitzvah atzma. The Schar that a person has, that when he does a mitzvah, he does it with a simcha, with the Gavaldik Simcha. That itself is also, that simcha is also a Schar. To find what is the real simcha. But we always heard SHisgal the Gavaldik Yegiya B'Torah, the Dikta Kamitzvahs, but there was a Murdik Simcha, the Gavaldik Simcha that he had. There was an Or Zerul HaTzadik. There was a kayach of an Or Zerul HaTzadik. There's Yishrei Leiv. His heart was Yashar. The Torah straightened out the heart. There was no Muhammad's over there. There was a simcha in Avodas Hashem. There was a simcha in the Limud HaTorah. So by the Chassidus, whenever he came, he would look around to find somebody to handle learning with, to be sitting there the whole Chassidus. When it came time to dance, he would stop and start dancing with the Chassidus, and then he was back to finding somebody learning, talking, learning himself. Wherever he went was totally a ragaton in Yegiyas HaTorah. But the murder, the simcha that was, the Gavaldik, the simcha Sachayim that he had. School of Isis Tzadikim, Kisreifus Beisel Ekeinu. It's the Zman of Churban Habayis, the Eibush that took away in the young Gadol. How much developed, we could have had so much more. With such a Gadol being around us, being able to be influenced. The Maral says that the Churban Bayis Rishon, it says it was because of Vaydazara, Gilarai, Shlichas Damim. He says that the Bayis Rishon was Keneged the Abbas. The Keneged the Abbas, Avram Yitzchak Yaakov, which is Keneged Avram's Chesed, Yitzchak's Avodah, Yaakov is Torah. Torah Avodah, the Milas Chasadim. Maral explains that the Gimel Averis Chamuris are connected the Torah Avodah and the Bilas Chasadim. Says the Bayis Rishon was the Ashreis Hashchina, the Bayis Rishon was the Ashreis Hashchina that Klal Yisrael mitzad the Yachid was royal to be a Merkabel L'Shchina. There was such slaveness in Klal Yisrael that the Yachid was a Mishkan Ma'at. And it was because of the Gimel Abbas that Klal Yisrael was mishtayef to the Mail of the Gimel Abbas. They were zeicher to the Ashreis Hashchina of the Abbas that Einin HaMerkabah, they were Merkabel L'Shchina. The Bayis Sheni, which didn't have the Ashreis Hashchina, was missing the Femailis. It was mitzad Klal Yisrael, the Mail of Klal. The Ashreis Hashchina was mitzad Klal Yisrael, mitzad that it was the Ashreis Hashchina, the Eibishter's, Vayim B'Shur Melech, B'Sasek Rosh Yom, Yachad Shifta Yisrael. When Klal Yisrael is together, the Tzibur is B'Achdas. Maral explains that the Bayis Rishon was, they were Masalik the Tikra. The Tikra is the roof. The Kayach Hashpah that was the L'mayla of the Ashreis Hashchina that was B'Schus of the Gimel Abbas. So the Bayis Rishon lost that Ashreis Hashchina mitzad the Gimel Abbas. But the Bayis Sheni was Oru Ora, the Yisayba, that was the Bittul of the Mechitzis. The Beis HaMikdash had two things to the Beis HaMikdash. See, in the Rambam, the Rambam says the Ikar of the Beis HaMikdash was the Ashreis Hashchina, that was the moment where HaKadosh Baruch Hu spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu from Bivei Shnei HaKruvim, there was the Oren and the Oren Avis, there was the Kayach HaTorah, there was the Shechina that was shared on Har Sinai, by Matan Torah, that was shared in the Mishkan. But in the Rambam you see that the Rambam says that the Eden of the Beis HaMikdash was a mock and the Klais was makabetz together to be over Redel and to be Makriv Karbonis. We said over this week that you see Machlekes in Yerushalmi, the Shiras Nosson brings down Machlekes in Yerushalmi, if the Nachem is in Yerushalayim Nircha or is in the Sefzenei Neilu. Is the Ritzei, is it in Avodah, is it the Indian of Akravis Kavonis, or Yerushalayim Nircha, Barachim Toshu, B'Sishpek, B'Seifek, Hashem Yivarta. The Maral, the way the Maral is saying is Bayis Rishon was Be'ikad Ashreis Hashchina, and the Bayis Sheni was the kibbutz of Klal Yisrael coming together, being Makabetz Klal Yisrael together, as being oibid as one Am, to be oibid the Kohen Echad, Mizbeach Echad, being Ma'achet Klal Yisrael, being oibid HaKadosh Baruch Hu as an Am together, and that was the Goyim of the Hashchina was Mikoyach Klal Yisrael. SHisgal Zatzal, in the descriptions, it sounds like it was two different, very different personalities. As Yeshiva spoke, as Yeshiva mentioned, that he had all different Magna people. He had the professor, he had this one, that one, they bring all different. The guy that held himself that he's a big doctor, he's a big army, he used to walk around with an army uniform, and he used to walk into the hospital and give instructions of what they should do. And he used to come to the house and he was part of the family. There was one time he came with a transistor radio, and he was showing them from one channel to another channel. He was blasting and he couldn't think, he couldn't learn. How did he get him to stop? He had his toy and he was very excited about showing his radio. With the grace of Chachma, SHisgal Zatzal told him, there's probably secrets, army secrets that are given over through the radio. The radio probably has, I'm not part of the army, I shouldn't be hearing these secrets. He said, oh, you're right. And he closed the radio. There was a gewaltige Pashtus and Achnoah. Bring down a story about somebody in Stanan, the Estim, an older person, the Estim, to get the Lulav and Esrim. He went and he went through to get the Esrim. The Lulav, the Esrim was easy, he found it. He was Moshe for his money, he got him a Shane Esrim. But the Lulav, so here's somebody over there, is it a kosher Lulav? So he said, if it's for you, I wouldn't suggest it, but if it's somebody else, at the end, he gave up his own lulav that he had. That was a motidik lulav for himself. And he said he was afraid that this person's not going to know how to take care of it. It's a lulav, a delicate. It's a delicate. It's the tubus is going to split if you don't shake it. If you don't hold it right. You don't take care of it right. He knew that he could take care of it, but he gave away his better lulav for Yana. The gewaltige bittul. To give himself over for others. When it came to learning the description of Mamash, he was an Ari. He fought in learning the fighting and learning. The Muhammad Shal Torah, if you love B'nai Rabbi Talmida in Nasoivim Zelazeh, it's mentioned that the Mashgiach HaMichal, that's how told him that he's afraid that he used to sit in Yeshiva Shekloli and he would argue with Yeshivas Zatzal. And he said the Bachrim, the young Bachrim, they don't chab. That it's just, this is the derech of Mechamta Shal Torah. And it sounds like when you argue with Yeshiva, you feel that Yeshiva's wrong. He shouldn't come to share. Because Ad Kedei Kach, the Mechamta Shal Torah with the Moedik of Bittul, of here to the Gog Mador, but when it came to Torah, there was a fire, there was a Muhammad. If Torah is a life by a person, Kisishbrin v'bitnecha, v'seirasi shamaru, you feel that Torah is your life, and you have to guard the emes of Torah. It's not anything to do with you. This is Torah's chayim, and you have to guard that Torah should be the emes, the shleimus. It doesn't matter who it is. Your achrayus is the shmira of making sure that Torah's emes. There's no zif, it wasn't a matter of my part, his part. Torah's chayim is a shtik leben, and if there was something that the elder was wrong, the elder, the pshat is different, is the machaptush of Torah. When it comes to his own personal zachen, the Eigen Mensch, was kuli hafnor, kuli hanova. Everybody always spoke about the tefillah, the davening, the evet klapi mori, davening with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, saying every word out, bakoshes, as an evet, an abdus, with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is a avodah shebelev, zun tefillah, the way the fathers are telling us to everybody, the way his brachas, Moshe mentioned the brachas, the way he said a sha'akol, the way he said a bracha, made such a roshim, anybody around, the koyach of the roshim that was left in the yeshiva, stellt back the ruach in the yeshiva of Yir Shemayim, of the shleimus of Torah and Yir Shemayim together. So brought down from Ramshach, it says, Alavai Esi Osmo Serosi Shamaru. So the shaila is, how could it be Serosi Shamaru? The Eibishter says, Malach L'Saper L'Chuki, somebody that's Oibra beggars. What is that? The Mesaper, the Eibishter's Torah. So Pshat learns a different Pshat. He says, he says the Pshat is, it's not the order of those people that is Oisi Osman. But if Klal Yisrael, if there would be in Klal Yisrael Terasi Shamaru, that would have Hashpah, that Ruchnis, that order that's in the Gedolim, in the people that are learning, would be Matzah Klal Yisrael L'Mutav. The koyach of that order of Torah has a koyach to change around and to be matzah l'mutav. The order of Torah affects everybody. Klal Yisrael, anybody that's around or anybody not around, the koyach of Torah has a koyach to be mashpia, the ruchnis of Torah. Klal Yisrael is one mitzias, is one neshama, is one guf. And if there's a Klal Yisrael, an Orah Torah that changes all the Klal Yisrael. Bring down a Maisa. SHisgal Zatzal went into a store, and the storekeeper said she has to talk to him. She's a matzah, the son is 24, and he wants to marry a Nishta Yiddisha. So she said that Babison, they go to shul twice a year, 3 times a year, they go to shul. She can't really expect the son to understand. How could she expect that there's a difference between a Yid and a Goy? What's wrong with marrying an Italian? So SHisgal said, I'll speak to him. He took him for a walk, I think it said 15 minutes, and the person came back, and he says that if we have such people like him, he's going to marry a Yiddish girl. And the person sent his kids to from a school, he got married, and he sent his kids to from a school. The koyach of Or Zerah Latzadik, the effect of that Or, so when it learns Torah with the Reikait, with the Yir Shemayim, Ba'amelos, B'Yigiyah, with the Bikush Emes, is Zareya, somebody Zareya Torah himself, that Or is Mashpiyah, and that Or what lights up the yeshiva by us. We're still fed from generation to generation. Talmidim, we're yoining from this Or. put into the yeshiva a shleimustika, stanani buffer, a shleimustika in Torah, Midas, Yerushalayim, Benod Mechadeira, caring for others, Omo B'Torah, with an emes Bikush emes, to be me'agay in Torah with a bikush emes. We should revive these Rishonim that's in the yeshiva every year, that's here should continue. Abiyas Leil Tzedek, the very amen.
Young told me that, Rashid told me that they speak on Chinuch, so maybe we'll say something that could affect Chinuch. But before I start, the public give a bracha to the Rashid and Yishab, the foolish labor, the Kalei, the Sershah, Chayli Yisrael, and that we should see him in an erect position, saying Torah, being the Sameach, people at Simchis, and things of that nature, not in the should go away. Yetz Hashem, that we should have Simchis only from now, and no more Yisuvin, and as it says, Le'elam Yispal Lagom, Shlo Yechela, it's Ishtat Yishum, have only put the Zachen. And to Rabbi Weiss, Adam, Lord Kava, the Abur, and I'm sure it's a Nakas Dua, for your father, it's out of the Global. You find wonderful brushes and Haskalah. It's appreciated by the Mishpach. We had in Pashas Pinchas, so the Baishon tells Moshe Rabbeinu wants his children to take over, but the Baishon says it's Yeshua. So the Baishon tells Moshe Rabbeinu to take Yeshua, but Makatoy says Shnei Loza Aklev, Shnei Kol Ego, Tzibisa, Yisraeli Nevi, Osakane Hoichol Lecho. Mani Shmu Kol Adashim B'nai Yisrael. That Moshe does like Kodesh Baruch Hu tells him to do, and he is saying it Yodov, not just Yodov, but Yodov. No. The Medrash tells us that Bnei Moshe Bnei Chama, Bnei Yeshua Bnei Levana. Right? So we believe the way everyone touches it up is that Moshe Rabbeinu is the source. In other words, the Chama is the source of oil, and the Levana is a reflection of the Chama. So the oil that we see from the Levana is only a reflection of the Chama. Chayr Bereshis, it says that the Rebbeinu Shalom created both the Ma'ayros HaGadol, they were both Gadol, Yasel Kimesh Shnei HaMa'ayros HaGadolim, and then as HaMa'ayros HaGadol himself, the Yomis and Marakotam himself, Avaylo, the Eish HaGadolim, and everyone knows the Medrash, the Levana complained, and the Levana became smaller. Okay. And because the Chama didn't say anything, so the Chama stayed the same. Right? So, in a reflection, the reflection is not as great as the source. We could say maybe that Moshe Rabbeinu, when he learned Gabon Yoimra, Blon Laila, Lechem Le'echalti, Umayim Le'eshasisi, when he was in Shemayim, and he learned the Torah from Kodesh Baruch Hu, never had the Chazal of Torah again. And you find places, the Salmon remember Halacha. So that was an Oynish, because he became the Kas or whatever, but it wasn't that he forgot. Kiddush HaChodesh was before Kabbalah said Torah, you didn't learn the Torah yet. But the Chayra, that's what the Chama, the R is just as strong every day. And it's always there. Levana is only a reflection. So a reflection, if we're weighing one against the other, for that reflection to stay strong, it has to have Chazorah. Inside the Torah, it has to have Chazorah Satorah. And maybe we could say this Kiddush. The Levana Tata has Chazorah. It, as they say in fancy English, it waxes and it wanes. It becomes bigger and it becomes smaller. So there's a milet. There's a time when a young child starts to learn. If he keeps learning, if he keeps chazering, and he works hard in it, so then it can become full. It's not like Moshe Rabbeinu, because there's going to be like confident be a spell Moshe. But it could be full until its fullest capacity. That's what the reflection can be. From the Hepech, he doesn't keep learning, doesn't keep chazering, so then the moon tilts the other way. It gets smaller and smaller. But there's always a chance you can bring it back. That's a tshuva that you can do in chazorah, that you can bring it back to fullness. As was said, the Yahrtzeit was tamid, learning, doing mitzvahs. He was always full. He was always like the Levana that's full. I once said a Maisa here, maybe it's even within the last 5 years, but I know some new people, but we about again. She was saying, talking about chinuch, this is the ultimate chinuch Maisa that I could say about the Shver. When he was in Ber Shmuel, and by the way, he left Torah Das because he didn't want to be involved in the machlokes. You don't have to go into anything more than that, but to say there was a machlokes that was brewing, and he didn't want to be involved in it, so he left Torah Das. And he took this position in Ber Shmuel, which was a much smaller yeshiva, but he was happy there. He had a Talmud. His name is Mela. He's about in his, close to my age, whatever that is. And his father was in the business. He had a laundromat. Okay. Today everyone has washing machines, dryers in the house. Get inside, you had to go to a laundromat. So unfortunately his father had gallbladder problems. And 60, 70 years ago, when you had your gallbladder taken out, it wasn't laparoscopic. They cut you open and you had to stay in bed for a few months at least. No, there was no one to take care of the business. So while he was still in the hospital for a few weeks, his mother ran the business and the Bacha was able to go to yeshiva. But then he came home from the hospital and he had to be in bed another 3 weeks. So in those 3 weeks that he had to go home, be in the house in bed, so the mother still went to run the business because he was a Bacha, he was 6, 17 years old, 18, he didn't know how to run the laundromat. So he stayed with his father. He didn't go to yeshiva for 3 weeks. And the Yahrtzeit came up every day after yeshiva was over and said over to him the shir of the day. That's what you call chinuch, and that's why the Rebbe, that's the ultimate that a Rebbe could do for a Talmud that the Chayr was potter from coming, based Kibadav, or maybe even a Shaila Bikuach Nefesh, something Bikuach Nefesh if he was left alone. So that's what the Shver did. So that's the chiluk between the Levana and the Chama. That's the chiluk b'nei Chama k'pnei Yeshua, k'pnei Moshe, k'pnei Levana k'pnei Yeshua. The reflection can always be full. I'd like to end with two gematrias, if I may. So in Parsha Shoftim, so Per Yudches, possibly Yudches, I think also. So it says, Moshe Rabbeinu asked the Rebbeinu Shalom like this. that the Moshe Rabbeinu starts earlier. Says like this: Novi mikebrecha mikibrecha neachecha t'moini yokum b'cha Hashem lekecha neilov tishmun. Moshe Rabbeinu is asking the Rebbeinu Shalom that he should appoint another Navi like him. No, how can a Navi be like him? We said before. Like come be a spell to make sure. So it can't be Kamaini. So what's the gematria of Kamaini? So the gematria of Kamaini is 120. Moshe Rabbeinu was asking for something else with later. That every Navi should have the long life, the longevity that Moshe Rabbeinu had. But the Rebbeinu Shalom didn't answer in that way. The Rebbeinu Shalom says a few psukim later, Navi Okim Lahem Kerbacheikem Kamoicha. Who be like you, Kamoicha. What's the gematria of Kamoicha? It's 86 on the Kim. That every Navi will say the Dvar Elokim, just like you said the Dvar Elokim. So that's what she got. So, we're in a time when we need Taka, the Navi, Eliyahu, the Navi who's massive, Soyos, Toivos, Yeshua's and Echamos, and he should come and be Mavasid to us, always Yeshua's Toivos, should bring Mashiach Tzidkenu, and we should see, it should be a Soif, this should be the last, as Rashiv said, the next time it should be a Simcha. This day should be a Simcha. And we should have, everyone should, even the young people that didn't know the Shver, and other tzaddikim should have that opportunity. The Meilu Yameinu, right? The Kolei Yameinu Ameinu.